All right, let's dive into a really fascinating quirk of the human mind. It's this powerful illusion that quietly goes back and rewrites our own memories. And honestly, most of the time, we don't even have a clue it's happening. I mean, how many times have you said that? Or at least thought it, right? After a crazy sports upset, a sudden stock market move, or even the twist at the end of a movie, this feeling just washes over you. This feeling of absolute certainty that you saw it coming all along. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is that feeling of knowing after the fact real? Or is it just our mind playing a clever little trick on us? Let's figure it out. So, that I knew it feeling is just incredibly convincing. What's really going on is our brain creating this powerful illusion of inevitability, but only after everything has already happened. Think about it. Before something happens, the future is, well, it's a total mess of possibilities, right? It's full of uncertainty. But the second we know the outcome, poof, all that uncertainty vanishes. Our memory then builds this perfectly straight, obvious road leading right to that result, making it feel like it was the only way it could have ever gone. Now, there's a name for this, of course. Psychologists have studied this for years, and it's one of the most common biases we all have. It's called hindsight bias. And that's the absolute core of it. We don't just remember the past, we actually reinterpret it through the filter of what we know now. The final outcome literally taints our memory of all the steps that led up to it. And this mental switch is pretty dramatic. Before the event, you're swimming in a sea of ambiguity and conflicting information. But afterwards, your mind does this amazing cleanup job, highlighting only the things that now look like clear signs, and totally ignoring all the stuff that pointed in a completely different direction. So let's bring this down to earth. This isn't just some abstract theory from a textbook. This is something that happens to all of us, every single day, in how we make sense of our lives. Oh yeah, you've definitely heard this at work. A big project fails, and suddenly it seems like everyone in the room remembers having major doubts right from day one. But what was the reality? At the beginning, everyone was probably excited, right? The risks were they were just risks, not guaranteed failures. But the outcome, the failure, rewrites that entire history into this obvious story of impending doom. Here's another classic. After a breakup, it's just so easy to look back and connect all these dots, to see this perfectly clear trail of red flags that led straight to the end. But hold on, were they really signs back then? Or were they just ambiguous moments? A weird comment here, a canceled plan there, things that could have meant anything. It's only after we know how the story ends that we weave them all together into a narrative of obvious problems. And you see this on a huge scale too. After a financial crisis or a political shocker, the world is suddenly filled with experts who all claim it was completely predictable. The funny thing is, prediction is a whole lot easier once the future has already happened. The same people who were genuinely uncertain beforehand are often the loudest voices claiming it was obvious afterwards. So why? Why are our brains built this way? Well, it turns out it all comes down to our brain's deep, deep need for a good, tidy story. See, our minds are natural storytellers. They're not data recorders. It's a matter of efficiency, really. Our brains are designed to save energy, and creating a simple, coherent story with a clear cause and effect is way easier than dealing with the messy, confusing reality of randomness and uncertainty. So once the ending is known, our brain just goes back and edits the beginning to make it all fit. It's a mental shortcut that creates order out of chaos. And this is the bottom line. Your memory is not a video camera that perfectly plays back the past. Nope, it's more like a creative editor, constantly recutting and reshaping old scenes to make sure they fit the final story we've decided is true. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, so my memory's a little biased. What's the big deal? Well, this seemingly harmless little mental habit, it actually has some pretty serious hidden costs. See, when we believe outcomes were obvious, we get way too confident in our own judgment. We stop learning from our mistakes because we think the error was simple when it was actually complex. And maybe worst of all, we unfairly blame other people for not seeing what we now see so clearly. It just completely distorts accountability and gets in the way of any real insight. But here's the good news. We are not helpless against this. We can actually train ourselves to fight back. So let's talk about 4 practical things you can do to resist that I knew it trap and start seeing the past a little more clearly. Okay, first, Force yourself to remember the uncertainty. What did you actually know before the outcome was revealed? Second, write things down. Keeping a decision journal is huge because it preserves the real context. Third, judge decisions based on the process, not just the outcome. You can have a great process and still get a bad result because of bad luck. And finally, just become aware of that I knew it thought. When you hear it in your head, challenge it. This right here, this is your secret weapon. The next time that feeling of false certainty starts creeping in, just stop and ask yourself this one simple, honest question. The answer most of the time is going to be, well, not a whole lot. And that little bit of humility, that's the real key to learn. Ultimately, hindsight bias is just a powerful reminder that our perception of the past is an illusion of clarity. The world was just as messy and uncertain 5 minutes ago as it feels right now, in this moment. You know, understanding this bias isn't really about being smarter about the past. It's about being wiser in the future. By recognizing that illusion of certainty in yesterday's news, we can get a whole lot better at navigating the very real uncertainty of tomorrow. So, what obvious conclusion are you going to question next?